What do you mean, am I tired of talking about Hillary? I've been tired of talking about Hillary for 20 years. But I'm going to be, yes, I've got the Washington Post story. There's a Washington Post story. Democrats are very worried about Hillary. They're very worried that she doesn't have the ability to win. And the main reason for this story, the main excuse given to this story, is that she's being treated like a Republican in the media, and that alarms them. But believe me, they know. I mean, they understand. If Hillary's being treated like a Republican, it means she's being treated like Sarah Palin to an extent, which means the media is out to destroy her, which means it could. It's not nearly as focused and targeted as the media is going after Republican. But it's different this time. And the Democrat Party powers that be are worried that Hillary doesn't have the ability to overcome this. And the overall image that's being created by this media attack. It's not universal. Not everybody in the media is going after her, but it's generational. A lot of the media that was around in the 90s is. Not all of them, but most of the media from the 90s that covered the Clintons and adored them and loved them, they're the ones not excited about all this and then not eager to help her through it. Some of the younger drive-bys who don't have real hands-on experience with the 90s are much less inclined to beat Hillary up over this. Great to have you back. 800-282-2882. We want to be on the program at the email address lrushbo@eibnet.com. And we finish with this. We'll move on to Mrs. Clinton. And boy, did I hit the nail on the head yesterday by going back to the 90s to explain what Mrs. Clinton is doing today, because we had more relics from the 90s pop up last night in defense of Mrs. Clinton. Madam Albright came up. Did you see that, Mr. Snerdley? Albright showed up to defend what Hillary's doing. And remember the name Donna Shalala? Well, you know, Donna Shalala was best buds with Janet El Reno, who was the Attorney General, and Donna Shalala was Health and Human Services. She also does a lot of yoga, like Hillary does. You can see it. Well, Donna Shalala has been, after when they left the Clinton regime in 2000, Shalala and Reno went on a nationwide trip, traveled the country in Reno's pickup truck. And they stopped at various campsites and did things. And then after they got the fun out of the way, Shalala came back and she was appointed president of the University of Miami, which, well, she was president of the University of Miami. And guess what? She's now been named the CEO of the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Foundation. And do you realize that the staff, the employees at the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Foundation are underwritten by a $16 million United States grant? In other words, taxpayer dollars are used to pay the salaries of people that work at the Clinton Foundation. This is not the Clinton Global Initiative. This is the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Foundation. And Shalala she used to run the University of Wisconsin. Then she went to the regime. She went to the Clinton regime, Health and Human Services, and then she went on this nationwide tour with Reno in the pickup truck. Then she went to the University of Miami, and now she's the Clinton Foundation. The 90s, the relics of the 90s. Hillary's bringing them all back to life and putting them in positions of prominence, just like they had back in the 90s. And who was it that identified the 90s as the identifying decade for Mrs. Clinton and the way she does things? It was El Rushbo. Before we get into more of that in great detail, because the Washington Post had a story that kind of rocked people. Part of the story did. It was all about how, you know what, this treatment that Hillary's getting by the media, that's not good. She's being treated like a Republican. Now, they didn't say that, but that's what they meant. And remember, the coverage Republicans get is meant to destroy them. The coverage drive-by medias give, particularly presidential candidates, is meant to take them out. And the Washington Post fears that that's the kind of coverage Mrs. Clinton is getting. And they wonder out loud if she has the ability to overcome it. Most Democrats are not battle-tested in that sense. Most Democrats wouldn't last a week. The kind of press coverage Republicans get. And the Washington Post raised that point. Now, look, the Democrat Party needs their donor class to think that their candidate is inevitable. They don't want the donor class to ever imagine that their candidate might not win. And that's what Hillary is screwing up. And that's why there is palpable fear palpitating out there in the Washington Post and other places over Hillary. Folks, I have to be away tomorrow. I'm terribly sorry, but I have to be out. We have Eric Erickson doing the program tomorrow, and I will be back here on Monday. I'll see you then. Sorry to be out tomorrow, but it can't be avoided. Back Monday.